This is the most diabolical thing ever happened in the history of the monarchy.
Late one evening, as the royal family once again found itself under the relentless glare of international attention, reports began circulating about an alleged backstage recording that supposedly captured harsh criticism directed at King Charles III. Within hours, speculation spread across media platforms, raising new questions about old royal tensions and setting the stage for a controversy that would dominate headlines around the world. What began as another round of royal speculation quickly evolved into something far larger, because according to the narrative circulating across media discussions, the alleged recording was not merely about personal grievances. Instead, the controversy centered on claims that Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, had once again reopened painful divisions involving King Charles III, Prince Harry, and the wider royal family, creating a fresh wave of public debate about loyalty, responsibility, and the future of royal relationships. As reports surrounding the alleged recording continued spreading, commentators immediately noticed that the public reaction was unusually intense. Royal controversies are nothing new, yet this particular story seemed to strike a different nerve because it touched upon a subject that has fascinated audiences for years: the complicated relationship between Meghan Markle and the institution she left behind. Whether supporters viewed Meghan Markle as a misunderstood outsider or critics viewed Meghan Markle as a disruptive figure, one thing became clear almost immediately: people everywhere wanted answers. And that is where the situation became even more intriguing. According to the narrative being discussed, the alleged recording contained complaints regarding treatment inside royal circles and accusations that certain members of the family received preferential support. While the authenticity and context of such claims remained heavily debated, the mere suggestion of private frustrations becoming public was enough to ignite enormous attention. After all, whenever internal royal disagreements appear to move from behind palace walls into the public arena, the story instantly becomes larger than the individuals involved. But here is the question many royal watchers immediately began asking. If these grievances had truly existed for years, why was this controversy exploding now? Why was a story connected to past disagreements suddenly dominating conversations again at this particular moment? Those questions only intensified curiosity, encouraging audiences to follow every new development while searching for clues that might explain the timing behind the renewed conflict. Meanwhile, attention rapidly shifted toward Buckingham Palace and the potential reaction from King Charles III. Throughout his public life, King Charles III has generally been known for measured responses rather than emotional public confrontations. Because of that reputation, many observers wondered whether Buckingham Palace would choose silence, issue a statement, or simply allow the controversy to fade naturally from public discussion. Instead of focusing solely on the alleged recording itself, commentators increasingly turned their attention toward the broader implications. Every royal controversy eventually becomes a story about perception, and perception often influences public opinion far more than the original event. As discussions continued growing, analysts argued that the real battle was no longer about what may or may not have been said. The real battle concerned which narrative would ultimately dominate public understanding of the situation. Have you noticed how royal stories often evolve in exactly that way? An initial claim appears, public curiosity grows, competing interpretations emerge. Then, suddenly the conversation becomes less about facts and more about which version of events people choose to believe. That pattern seemed to be unfolding once again. At the center of the discussion stood not only Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, but also Prince Harry, whose relationship with the royal family has remained a constant subject of public fascination since stepping back from official royal duties. Many observers wondered whether Prince Harry would address the growing controversy or remain distant from the escalating media storm. The uncertainty surrounding Prince Harry's potential involvement only added another layer of suspense to an already complicated story. As headlines multiplied across international media, supporters and critics on both sides became increasingly vocal. Some argued that Meghan Markle was simply expressing personal experiences, while others believed the controversy represented another chapter in a long-running dispute that had already caused significant damage to family relationships. Regardless of where opinions fell, the result was the same. Public attention continued intensifying, and just when it seemed the story could not become any bigger, another fascinating development emerged. Instead of focusing exclusively on Meghan Markle, many discussions began examining the position of King Charles III himself. Royal analysts pointed out that every modern monarch faces a unique challenge. A king must balance personal emotions with institutional responsibility, particularly during moments when family disagreements become public spectacles. According to commentators, that balancing act often becomes far more difficult than most people realize. So what was King Charles III truly thinking behind palace walls? Was Buckingham Palace preparing a response? Will the controversy fade away naturally, or was this merely the opening chapter of a much larger royal confrontation? Those questions continue driving interest as audiences around the world search for answers. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications because the next part of the story explores how Buckingham Palace reportedly assessed the growing controversy, why several royal commentators believe the reaction inside royal circles was far more significant than many people realized, and what developments allegedly pushed tensions to an entirely new level. As discussions surrounding the alleged Backstage recording continued dominating headlines, attention gradually shifted away from the recording itself and toward a far more significant question that royal observers could not stop asking. If the controversy was growing larger with every passing hour, how would Buckingham Palace choose to respond without allowing the situation to spiral completely out of control? That question quickly became the center of royal debate, because the answer had the potential to shape public perception of both King Charles III and the wider monarchy for weeks to come. According to royal commentators, one of the most fascinating aspects of any major royal controversy is that the public rarely sees the conversations taking place behind palace walls. While newspapers publish headlines and social media erupts with opinions, senior advisors, communications teams, and royal officials are often working quietly to evaluate every possible consequence before any public action is taken. Because of that reality, many observers suspected that Buckingham Palace was carefully monitoring every development connected to Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, while weighing how any response might influence public opinion. What would you have done in that situation? If you were advising King Charles III during a rapidly escalating media storm, would you recommend a forceful public response, or would you encourage silence and patience while the controversy gradually faded? That question divided royal audiences across Britain, the United States, Canada, and Australia, creating an entirely new layer of discussion around the story. As speculation intensified, several royal analysts pointed out that King Charles III faced a particularly difficult challenge. Unlike political figures who frequently engage in direct public disputes, monarchs traditionally operate under very different expectations. The crown is often expected to project stability rather than confrontation, restraint rather than retaliation, and continuity rather than emotional reaction. Because of those traditions, every decision connected to public controversies carries enormous symbolic importance. Yet according to commentators, the situation involving Meghan Markle was unique because it touched upon issues that had already generated years of public discussion. Ever since Prince Harry and Meghan Markle stepped away from official royal duties, audiences around the world have remained intensely interested in the relationship between the Sussexes and the royal institution they left behind. As a result, even relatively small developments often receive extraordinary levels of attention. And that is exactly why many royal observers believe the controversy was becoming larger than a simple disagreement. The story was no longer just about an alleged recording. The story was becoming a debate about competing narratives. On one side stood supporters who believed Meghan Markle was expressing deeply personal experiences and frustrations. On the other side stood critics who argued that repeated public disputes were damaging relationships that might otherwise have remained private. As both perspectives gained traction, the controversy evolved into a broader conversation about accountability, loyalty, and the responsibilities that come with public influence. Meanwhile, another important figure quietly entered the discussion. Prince Harry. Although much of the attention remained focused on Meghan Markle and King Charles III, royal watchers increasingly began asking how Prince Harry might view the escalating situation. After all, Prince Harry occupies a uniquely complicated position within the story. Prince Harry is both the son of King Charles III and the husband of Meghan Markle, placing Prince Harry directly at the intersection of two competing worlds. Could Prince Harry eventually play a role in reducing tensions? Could Prince Harry help bridge differences that have persisted for years? Or had the divide already become too deep to repair? Those questions generated enormous curiosity because many people continued hoping for some form of reconciliation between Prince Harry and the royal family, even after years of public disagreements. At the same time, royal commentators noted another intriguing development. While media coverage often focused on conflict, several analysts argued that the monarchy itself remained focused on something entirely different: long-term stability. Institutions that have survived for centuries generally think beyond individual news cycles, and many observers believe Buckingham Palace was approaching the controversy through that broader lens. Rather than reacting to every headline, the palace appeared determined to protect the long-term image of the crown. That strategy, however, created another mystery. Was silence a sign of strength, or was silence allowing the controversy to grow even larger? The debate became increasingly intense as audiences searched for clues hidden within every royal appearance, every official statement, and every public engagement involving senior members of the royal family. Interestingly, attention also began shifting toward other key royals, particularly Catherine, Princess of Wales, and Prince William, the future king. Although neither Catherine, Princess of Wales, nor Prince William was directly connected to the alleged recording controversy, their continued popularity ensured that public discussions frequently expanded beyond the immediate dispute. Some commentators even argued that the contrast between ongoing royal duties and continuing public controversies highlighted two very different visions of royal life. Whether that interpretation was fair or not, the comparison fueled even more conversation. And just when many observers thought the situation had reached its peak, new questions began emerging regarding what might happen next. Would Meghan Markle choose to address the growing debate directly? Would Prince Harry eventually break his silence? Would Buckingham Palace issue a more definitive response? Or was an even larger development waiting just around the corner? Those unanswered questions kept audiences deeply invested as the story continued evolving in real time. Before we move into the next chapter, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications because the next part of the story explores why several royal insiders believe the controversy reached a critical turning point, how public opinion began shifting in unexpected ways, and why some commentators argue that the biggest surprise of this entire saga had not yet been revealed. As the controversy continued gaining momentum, something unexpected began happening across royal commentary circles. The conversation was no longer focused solely on the alleged recording or the claims surrounding Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex. Instead, public attention gradually shifted toward a much larger question involving the long-term relationship between the Sussexes and the monarchy itself. According to several royal analysts, this transition marked a critical turning point because it transformed a short-term controversy into a broader discussion about trust, reputation, and the future of royal family relationships. What made this shift particularly significant was the growing realization that stories involving King Charles III and Meghan Markle rarely remain confined to a single event. Instead, every new controversy tends to reconnect with years of previous headlines, previous interviews, and previous public disagreements. As a result, many commentators argue that audiences were no longer evaluating one isolated claim. Audiences were evaluating an entire history of tensions that had unfolded publicly for years. And that raised an important question. When people hear a new royal controversy, are audiences reacting to the current story alone, or are audiences reacting to everything that came before it? That question became increasingly important because public opinion often develops through accumulated impressions rather than individual events. Every previous disagreement involving Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, King Charles III, Prince William, the future king, and Catherine, Princess of Wales, seemed to re-enter the conversation simultaneously, creating a narrative far larger than the original controversy itself. Meanwhile, royal observers noticed another fascinating development unfolding behind the scenes of public discussion. While media coverage focused heavily on conflict, many commentators began analyzing how senior members of the royal family were continuing their official duties despite the growing storm of speculation. Public engagements continued, charitable initiatives moved forward, international responsibilities remained active, From the perspective of many analysts, this contrast between controversy and continuity became a story in its own right. Why? Because institutions often reveal their priorities through actions rather than words. Several royal commentators pointed out that King Charles III appeared determined to maintain focus on royal responsibilities regardless of the media attention surrounding the controversy. According to observers, this approach reflected a long-standing royal strategy in which public duty takes precedence over public disputes. Whether supporters agreed with that approach or not, the strategy itself became a major talking point among royal audiences. At the same time, growing attention was being directed toward Prince William, the Prince of Wales. Although Prince William had not publicly entered the controversy, many royal watchers believed Prince William's position within the monarchy made every development indirectly significant. As the future king, Prince William represents the next chapter of the institution, and several commentators argue that controversies affecting the royal family inevitably raise questions about the monarchy's future direction. Could ongoing tensions eventually influence future relationships within the royal family? Could reconciliation still occur despite years of public disagreements? Or had events reached a stage where meaningful repair would become increasingly difficult? Those questions generated enormous engagement because they touched upon something deeper than headlines. They touched upon family dynamics, and family dynamics are universally understood regardless of nationality, political beliefs, or personal opinions about the monarchy. And then another layer of the story began attracting attention: public perception. According to media analysts, controversies often produce two completely different battles. The first battle occurs within the actual event itself. The second battle occurs within public opinion. In many cases, the second battle becomes far more influential because perception can shape reputations long after specific details fade from memory. This reality created a new challenge for everyone involved. For Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, the challenge involved managing public interpretation of ongoing criticism and debate. For King Charles III, the challenge involved protecting the dignity and stability associated with the monarchy. For Prince Harry, the challenge involved navigating a uniquely complicated position between personal loyalty and family relationships. According to commentators, each figure faced a completely different public expectation, making the situation even more complex. Have you noticed how royal controversies often become more complicated over time rather than less complicated? New questions emerge before old questions are answered. New interpretations appear before previous interpretations disappear. And because of that cycle, public curiosity continues growing instead of fading. Several analysts argue that this exact pattern was now unfolding once again. Interestingly, some commentators began suggesting that the most important aspect of the controversy might not involve the alleged recording at all. Instead, the most important aspect might be what the reaction revealed about public attitudes toward the royal family. Every major controversy functions like a mirror, reflecting how audiences view the individuals involved. The intense reactions surrounding King Charles III, Meghan Markle, Prince Harry, and Prince William suggested that public fascination with royal family dynamics remained as powerful as ever. And just when observers believed the debate had reached its highest point, conversations began turning toward potential consequences. Not immediate consequences, not dramatic consequences, but long-term consequences. How might this controversy influence future public appearances? How might it affect future relationships? And what impact could it have on the public image of the monarchy moving forward? Those questions kept audiences deeply invested because they shifted attention away from the past and toward the future. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications because the next chapter explores why some royal commentators believe the controversy triggered private concerns about the monarchy's public image, how public opinion appeared to evolve as the debate intensified, and why several observers believe the most surprising development was still yet to come. As public discussion surrounding the alleged recording continued spreading across international media, a new and increasingly important question began emerging among royal commentators. The debate was no longer focused exclusively on what Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, may or may not have said. Instead, attention started shifting toward something far more significant: the potential impact that another major controversy could have on the public image of the monarchy itself. According to several observers, this marked the moment when the story evolved from a personal dispute into a broader conversation about reputation, perception, and institutional stability. What made this development particularly fascinating was the timing. At a period when King Charles III was working to define his reign and strengthen public confidence in the monarchy's future direction, the emergence of another high-profile controversy inevitably generated renewed scrutiny. Royal analysts pointed out that every monarch faces challenges, but some challenges arrive at especially sensitive moments. Because of that reality, many commentators began examining not only the controversy itself, but also the larger environment in which the controversy was unfolding. And that raises an interesting question for viewers. Do you believe controversies have a greater impact when they occur during periods of transition, or do you think established institutions are strong enough to absorb temporary storms without lasting damage? That question became increasingly relevant because many observers believed public reaction would ultimately determine whether the controversy faded quickly or remained part of the royal conversation for months to come. Meanwhile, another intriguing development was taking place. Rather than focusing exclusively on Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, many commentators began discussing how King Charles III had approached previous challenges throughout his decades in public life. According to royal historians, King Charles III has spent much of his adult life navigating intense public scrutiny, media criticism, and shifting public expectations. Because of that experience, several analysts argue that King Charles III understood better than most people how quickly public narratives can change. Yet even with that experience, the current controversy presented unique complications. Why? Because modern media operates at extraordinary speed. A single claim can generate thousands of reactions within minutes. A single headline can produce international debate within hours. A single controversy can dominate global discussions before official responses have even been considered. According to communications experts, this environment creates challenges that previous generations of royals never had to face. As the story continued evolving, attention increasingly turned toward public opinion data, commentary programs, and online discussions. While opinions remained sharply divided, analysts noticed something particularly interesting. Large numbers of people appeared less interested in the details of the alleged recording and more interested in what the controversy revealed about ongoing tensions within the royal family. In other words, the public was beginning to view the controversy as part of a much larger narrative. That larger narrative involved Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, King Charles III, Prince William, the future king, and Catherine, Princess of Wales. For years, audiences around the world have followed developments involving these figures with remarkable intensity. Every interview, every public appearance, every statement, and every perceived disagreement becomes part of an ongoing story that many viewers feel invested in emotionally. According to several commentators, this emotional investment explains why royal controversies often generate levels of engagement that far exceed ordinary political or celebrity news. And just when it seemed public interest could not grow any stronger, another topic began attracting attention: the possibility of reconciliation. Despite years of disagreements and public disputes, many royal watchers continue hoping for eventual healing between Prince Harry and the wider royal family. Some commentators suggested that every new controversy simultaneously generates two opposing reactions. One group becomes more convinced that divisions are permanent. Another group becomes even more hopeful that reconciliation remains possible. Which perspective do you find more convincing? Do you believe time eventually heals family conflicts, or do you think repeated controversies make reconciliation increasingly difficult? Questions like these helped keep audiences engaged because the discussion was no longer limited to royal affairs. The discussion touched upon universal human experiences involving family relationships, trust, forgiveness, and communication. At the same time, Prince William, the Prince of Wales, and Catherine, Princess of Wales, continued attracting attention as symbols of stability within the institution. According to several royal commentators, the continued popularity of Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, has become an important factor in conversations about the monarchy's future. Whenever public debates intensify, audiences naturally look toward figures perceived as representing continuity and long-term leadership. This dynamic created another fascinating layer to the story. While discussions centered on present controversies, many people were already thinking about future generations of royal leadership. According to analysts, that shift in focus may ultimately prove more important than the controversy itself. Because controversies come and go, headlines change, news cycles move forward, but public perceptions regarding future leadership can endure for years. As a result, royal commentators increasingly argue that the larger significance of the controversy might lie not in immediate reactions, but in the broader conversations it sparked about the monarchy's direction moving forward. And then another important question emerged. What happens if public attention continues shifting away from individual disputes and toward larger questions about the future of the institution? Several analysts suggested that this possibility could fundamentally change how the story is remembered. Rather than becoming known simply as another royal disagreement, the controversy could become remembered as a moment that encouraged deeper discussions about leadership, public trust, and the next generation of royal figures. With so many unanswered questions still remaining, interest in the story showed no signs of fading. Would public opinion continue evolving? Would Prince Harry eventually address the growing speculation? Would Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, respond to the ongoing debate? And how would King Charles III continue balancing personal family challenges with the responsibilities of the crown? Before we move into the final chapter of the story, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications because the next section explores the long-term implications of this controversy, why some royal experts believe the biggest consequences may still be ahead, and what this entire saga could mean for the future relationship between the monarchy and the global audience that continues watching every development unfold. As the controversy surrounding the alleged recording continued dominating conversations across television panels, newspaper columns, online forums, and royal commentary channels, many observers began realizing that the biggest question was no longer whether another royal disagreement had entered the public spotlight. The bigger question was what this entire situation revealed about the extraordinary fascination that still surrounds every development involving King Charles III, Meghan Markle, Prince Harry, Prince William, the future king, and Catherine, Princess of Wales. According to several analysts, the story had evolved far beyond its original claims and had become a reflection of the public's enduring interest in the future of the monarchy itself. What makes this particularly remarkable is that years after Prince Harry and Meghan Markle stepped back from official royal duties, public attention remains incredibly intense whenever their names become connected to a new controversy. Many commentators have suggested that this phenomenon exists because audiences are not simply following events. Audiences are following an ongoing narrative that has unfolded across multiple years, multiple interviews, multiple public appearances, and countless headlines. Every new chapter feels connected to the chapter that came before it, creating a story that millions of people continue tracking in real time. And that raises a fascinating question. If this controversy had involved public figures outside the royal family, would it have attracted the same level of worldwide attention? Or does the unique position of King Charles III, Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, Prince William, and Catherine, Princess of Wales transform even relatively small developments into international talking points? Many royal watchers believe the answer is obvious. The monarchy occupies a place unlike any other institution in modern public life. That reality helps explain why discussions surrounding the alleged recording continued expanding long after the initial headlines appeared. Meanwhile, royal commentators increasingly focused on the long-term implications rather than the immediate controversy. According to several analysts, individual headlines eventually fade, but public impressions can last for years. This is especially true when stories involve trust, family relationships, and leadership. Because of that reality, many observers argue that the most important consequences of the controversy might not emerge immediately. Instead, the lasting impact could be felt through evolving public perceptions regarding the individuals involved. For King Charles III, the discussion centered around leadership during difficult circumstances. For Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, the discussion centered around public interpretation of ongoing criticism and commentary. For Prince Harry, the discussion centered around balancing family connections with personal decisions. For Prince William, the future king, and Catherine, Princess of Wales, the discussion increasingly centered around the future direction of the monarchy. According to several commentators, These overlapping narratives explain why the story continued generating such enormous interest. And just when it seemed every angle had already been explored, another intriguing observation emerged. Throughout the controversy, many audiences appeared increasingly interested in stability rather than conflict. Why do you think that is? Could it be that after years of public disagreements, many royal watchers are becoming more interested in solutions than disputes? Could it be that audiences are looking toward the future rather than remaining focused on the past? These questions generated substantial debate because they touched upon something deeper than individual personalities. They touched upon the future identity of the monarchy itself. Several royal analysts pointed out that every generation experiences a moment when public attention gradually shifts toward future leadership. According to those observers, Prince William, the Prince of Wales, has increasingly become a central figure within conversations about the monarchy's next chapter. Every major discussion involving the royal family now seems to include questions about how Prince William might eventually shape the institution as king. At the same time, Catherine, Princess of Wales, continues attracting widespread admiration from audiences who view Catherine, Princess of Wales, as a symbol of continuity, dignity, and stability. Because of that public perception, many commentators believe that future discussions surrounding the monarchy will increasingly focus on Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, regardless of the controversies dominating current headlines. And perhaps that is the most significant takeaway from this entire story. Controversies generate attention. Headlines generate debate. Speculation generates curiosity. But institutions ultimately endure because people continue looking beyond temporary disputes toward long-term leadership and long-term direction. According to several royal historians, that pattern has repeated itself throughout generations of royal history. As a result, many observers believe the real story may not involve an alleged recording at all. The real story may involve a monarchy navigating a changing era while maintaining continuity during periods of intense public scrutiny. The real story may involve how King Charles III balances responsibility with family challenges. The real story may involve how Prince William, the future king, prepares for even greater responsibilities in the years ahead. And the real story may involve whether future generations of royals can find ways to bridge divisions that have captured public attention for so long. So what do you think? Do you believe reconciliation between Prince Harry and the royal family remains possible? Do you think public controversies ultimately strengthen or weaken the monarchy? And how do you believe King Charles III, Prince William, Catherine, Princess of Wales, Meghan Markle, and Prince Harry will be remembered when historians look back on this period decades from now? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because this conversation continues generating passionate debate among royal watchers across the world. And before you go, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest royal family updates, palace developments, historical analysis, and in-depth discussions surrounding King Charles III, Prince William, Catherine, Princess of Wales, Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and the future of the British monarchy. Thank you for watching, and remember that while headlines often focus on moments of controversy, history is usually shaped by something much larger: the choices leaders make during challenging times, the relationships that evolve behind the scenes, and the events that quietly influence the future long after the headlines themselves have disappeared.